Hello, welcome to another episode of StadiumCast. You may know me as Martijn Inadequance.
And I am Lundberger, also known as Amanda, and we are here with, I would say, someone that we know pretty well, wouldn't you, Martijn? One of also, I would say almost everyone in the Pokemon community thinks that they know this guy well. And by saying this, everyone already probably knows who is on the podcast. We have SpeediestChief. Will, welcome in.
Hey, how's it going? It's great to be on the show. Really excited to talk with you. Martijn said he had a ton of questions. And Amanda, if anyone's watching your video feed, they might see that you transported back to 1810. So
yeah.
right?
So this is the special thing for people who are actually watching and not just listening to the podcast. Make sure to check it out to see my beautiful, beautiful background here. Okay, so Speedy, since we actually have you on, we have to ask a very important question because, like I said, you're friends with Martijn and you're friends with me. Who do you actually like more out of the two of us?
Think very carefully now. Think very carefully. We go way back. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true. I have known Martijn for years. I've also known you as well, Amanda. And I will say it was a pleasure and a joy to work with you at EUIC. Hopefully, I get a chance to work with Martijn soon as well at a Play Pokemon cast. Do I have a favorite? That's so unfair.
Yes, you do.
This
podcast question. Is all about controversial questions. We're trying to make each other look bad.
We're luring you in.
Amanda actually told me before the show. She said each episode gets progressively meaner towards Martijn. So
that's true. The very end, yes.
We need to make jokes there. So what I'll say is you're equally my favorites.
He's playing it so safe, Amanda.
I know. That's him. He's got this wholesome appearance.
Well, I listened to the House Stark episode and I took some notes because he was incredibly neutral. I'm gonna try to do the same thing.
All right, Chief. I have like I said, I have a list of things here that I want to talk to you about. You're one of the OGs as well, right? You started quite early with PvP. Can you talk about the beginning of content creation for you?
Yeah, of course. So when I first started making content, oh my gosh, years ago now, I watched Purple Kyogre's videos and King's videos, and I always felt like their videos were great, but there was a lot more room in the Pokemon Go space to make more content. And the first video I ever made, I remember I just wrapped up regionals in Tampa and didn't do too well. I think I had like a 3-2 or something like that. Nothing spectacular. But essentially I just went over to my bedroom. I sat down on my bed. I held my phone up to my face and I just talked through the footage. And I did an audio recording and I had a video recording. And I just wanted to talk about my thought process, how the game worked, why I think I won or lost, et cetera, et cetera. And I think I've told this story a couple times, but I've always approached Pokemon Go and content creation in general as a way to grow the game. I really think it's an incredibly enjoyable game. It's really fun. It's very accessible. And I feel like I want more people to play it. That's how you keep a game alive. That's how you keep a game growing, by bringing new people into it. And I felt like if there was good content, people would find it even more accessible and then they would join. So that's always been my mission, is to bring more people into the game because I heckin' love it. I know you do too.
Woke. Let's keep this family friendly, okay? Speediest here. We can't use vulgar language like heckin' on this podcast.
All right. I'll try to tune it down for 1810 audiences.
But yeah, I mean, really, you took off from there. Like Martijn said, you are really one of the first people that everyone has known within this community. And then you kind of solidified your name as a PvP expert when you became like the first Silph champion. Can you walk us through how that came about as well?
I want to emphasize that if you look at my record from 2021 in Silph Arena in general, it's not very good. I had a really bad Forest Cup, if I recall. I had some really good cups, some really bad cups. I feel like it just takes a little stroke of luck and a little bit of studying and a little bit of the right moment for a person. And I don't know. I mean, I look back at it and the World Championships was really an accident. That was not my intention. I've always been competitive, but I was never Martijn's level. I was never, Wadaj's level. I was never somebody who could just go to a competition and just sweep at any given moment. That was never me. I was always kind of middle of the pack. But I think that during that run in particular, it just took just a few things to just line up, whether it was really diving into the meta, understanding it, doing way more scrims than I'd ever done before, talking with really talented friends like Jengles and Arrow, or just screaming my brains out repeatedly. I remember there's a moment in the World Championships when Ventuski had his Machamp, and he had goodness, I forget the third. Maybe it was Mantine. And essentially, I predicted that there was a Machamp in the back, and I sent in Obstagoon versus Mantine. And I remember King was just losing his mind, like, "Oh my god, how did he know? This is a crazy prediction." Well, I'll tell you the secret. I had a notebook, and I was writing down the teams that my friends used when they used my opponent's teams. I said, "Hey, pretend to be Ventuski for me. Pretend to be Mayron P. Pretend to be these trainers." And I wrote down all the teams they use, and I said, "You know what? Based on what I've seen over these 3 or 4 days of scrims, there's a Machamp back there." And that's just how I knew, because it was experiential. And I think everyone has their own kind of method. Somebody like Though Tactical or House Stark could wake up any day and win the world championship just because they're that freaking good. But for somebody like me, it was more like a Batman approach. I had to prep tons and tons and tons of prep.
I'm just gonna straight up disagree with you there. If you win a world championship, that just doesn't really happen just like that, because it's a long road to winning Silph Worlds, no? And as you say, a lot of scrims, that all comes with it.
Yeah.
If you were to do it again, would you do it the same approach?
And could you
yeah.
do it again?
Could I do it again? That's a big question, right? Because one of the pieces of inspiration that I took, and I think a lot of trainers do this. We saw this. I'm just going to infer this. We saw this with Wadaj in Hartford. When you go up against your friends who you know are very, very talented and very good, and you beat them, there's almost like this carrying over of the willpower, of the energy from that friend that you beat, and you almost feel like, my God, I just beat House Stark. He's so much better than me as a player. If I don't win this next round, I'm going to let him down. I'm going to let all my friends down that have come before me that I've beaten. So I think, when Wadaj was just knocking off competitor after competitor, it kind of felt that way. Like he was taking that energy, carrying it on, and they were kind of cheering for him. Magic Mason was like, "Go get him, man. Go qualify." And I felt that same way with Worlds. I just kept on going higher and higher, and I just felt like if I don't continue, just try my best no matter what, it's just not going to make a difference. So yeah, it was a pretty wild time. Could I do it again? I don't know. I got pretty lucky.
I have to. This kind of leads into a point that I was going to bring up a little bit later. It's not that you were lucky. I think you're a very, very talented battler. But you and CalebPeng have been having a lot of bets lately about like who maybe is not the better battler per se, but it's like maybe who can reach Legend first in Go Battle League or all these things. And you repeatedly keep losing these bets. Will, are you losing them for content? Are you losing them just because you feel bad for Caleb, or he doesn't have enough self-esteem in other parts of his life, so you feel like you need to help him out here? Or
Can I take both of those answers and make those my answers? Yeah, no. So the whole bet system with Caleb is pretty interesting, because I've really shifted my focus away from being ultra competitive. I don't scrim nearly as much. I don't play my sets every day. I'm really focused on the casting. I think that's always been my bread and butter ever since I first sat down in my bed and recorded that regionals recap. I just really wanted to be a voice that kind of help people to rationalize games, work through them, improve, learn from my mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like the casting is really where I shine in particular, because I've never been a hardcore competitor. I never raced to Legend like Arrow just right out of the gate. I've never been Rise to Occasion that, gets Legend with just wacky teams, or a Tua Butters Spice Lord who's just always winning with the craziest setups. I've never been that kind of trainer. I've always been, like I said, I think of myself as middle of the pack. Maybe you two disagree, but yeah, first of all, somebody's got to keep people coming back to Battle Cats. All right. It's got to be me, right? Secondly, Caleb lives and dies by his Go Battle League performance, right? He's got a very healthy Patreon that he's worked incredibly hard to build. He's got just a wealth of knowledge about the game. He's incredibly talented. We saw him go to 2 regionals and be runner-up twice. I mean, he's cracked out of his mind, right? People like Martine, like Caleb, who can make content and cast at the same time. I don't know how you guys do it. I seriously don't know how you find the time or the bandwidth to do it, but it's tough.
We just put our Basidon in the correct spot.
I think that's actually what it is.
For real. But no disrespect to Caleb at all. But the bets are kind of fun, but I always take like a lighthearted approach. But to your point, Amanda, yeah, I think it's very important to him to win. He thinks about it. I mean, you've made it when the CalebPeng posts his obligatory Legend post on Twitter and tags you. That's when that you've made it into prime time.
I have the same with Kevin Saludaris. Yeah.
There you go. See, that's when you know.
I have, speaking of bets with Caleb, I have a question that I think everyone is dying to know about. How did it feel to, like, I've known you always with a beard. How did it feel to not have a beard for a while? I just didn't recognize you anymore.
I know, I didn't recognize myself. No, so with the whole beard thing, I grew it out during the pandemic, and it was my it was my first time actually having a beard. I didn't know how long it would take to grow back, and that was one of the questions I had for myself. But it came back within less than a month, so there's that, right? I can recover from something like that. It's not a big deal, and it was a huge event, right? A lot of people were talking about it. Even our producers at the Play Pokemon tournaments were talking about it. And it was just, a great piece of hashtag content to get people engaged. And would I do that bet again? No, I think enough people gave me the feedback that the beard. I actually got feedback from a dear friend who said that I lost charisma points without the beard. That was tough. That was tough to hear.
Because there's some of the other bets that also have taken place. I just saw that there was a Twitter account being created that was called "Has Speedy Eaten the Hot Chip?" And the only post is no.
Yeah, no, I actually confronted Caleb. I was like, dude, is this your burner account? He said no. And I said, yeah, okay, sure. And then he turned it into like a game within a game. He actually sent a message that was a Discord. It was a screenshot of a Discord message, and he cropped out who sent it. And he said, you have 3 guesses to guess who sent this. And if you don't get it right, I'm never going to tell you. He's like making a game out of a game out of a game. I'm just like, come on, dude, when does it end? It doesn't need to be like this cycle. I don't care that much. But yeah, hot chip bet still needs to happen. That thing is nuclear. Took it out of the package, smelled it. Oh, it's nuclear.
I actually really do like Caleb's approach to all of these betting things. Yeah, maybe I can learn 1 or 2 things to torture Amanda the same way in that sense.
Here's the thing, like, I am a super competitive person, but I also know my limits. So it's like, if I'm having a bet with CalebPeng, and I mean no disrespect to you, Will, because I think that you're at a higher you call yourself middle of the pack, then I'm a very low pack, but if Martine is making a bet with me of who's reaching legend first, I say no, that's okay. I'm not taking this bet unless the odds are incredible in my favor.
I'm actually not legend yet, so I might be washed up. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm also not legend yet. Should we actually make this bet? How far are you off? I'll tell you what, I'll shave my beard. And you can
okay. Fair. No, Amanda, you got to understand, once you make a bet with somebody who's very competitive, it just fuels them more.
That's
Whereas you and I would make a bet, it'd be like, oh yeah, if I get to it, I get to it. I'm focused on these other things in my life. As soon as you make a bet with Caleb, it's like, oh my God, I'm like living and breathing this next set of GBL. Like I'm focused. I'm turning everything off. No screens, no cats, nothing. I got to win. And he's just like all in on it. And it's just not my approach. Just to be honest.
Have you discussed this on Battle Cats as well? Is that the same approach you have?
Yeah, sure. No. I've said it before. Like the bets are fun, right? It gets people engaged. It's funny, that kind of stuff. And also, I will say there was a photo of me that we used in the caster announcement, and I got some feedback from friends that said I looked like a used car salesman in the photo. I was really upset. I was like, "What are you talking about? I don't see it at all."
He's never shaving it off again.
I know, yeah. I look like a used car salesman. I was like, come on. But then if you think about Battle Cats and how these bets arise, it's like I made a challenge for myself to get top 10 on the leaderboards. And then Caleb hijacked it like it was a heist. And he was like, why don't we make it a little more entertaining? Why don't we give you a little more motivation? How about if you have to shave your beard if you don't get it? How about that? And then I'll do something too. He hijacked my own personal thing into a bet for us. So there it is.
I've one last question about it. What did Morita think of you without beard?
Did not like it.
Did not like it. Did she
But
also
that's good.
say you're a car salesman? Yeah, now you have the feedback, right? You have the feedback now.
No. It's good because if she liked the no beard, I would really be screwed, right?
Oh yeah. Then you can't really grow it back.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble. So it checked out. It was fine.
All right. So the next topic that I have here, Chief, for you is factions. Sure. You used to be in a team with Panic. Well, I think it was Mazer Gaming, right? Can you tell us about your experience in factions or with that with Maisie in general.
Yeah, of course. So I just want to preface it by saying that Nick is one of my, actually, I don't know how many people know this, but Nick is one of my closest friends in the community. He's actually a really, really solid guy. I don't know how he
Wait,
manages
time out.
everything.
Are you saying he's closer with you than me and Martine?
I never said that. Hey, you're reading too much into it.
Whoa.
All right.
All right, please continue.
On our own podcast.
My gosh, just cancel the episode. Just find someone else to interview. But no, Nick is actually a really solid guy. He's got a full-time job. He's just got a new baby that just came along, and he's got all these other things. You know, he coaches soccer. He's got all these other things in his life that he manages. I don't know how he does it. It's really pretty impressive. But Nick essentially assembled a super team on Mazer. This is before, I guess Stadium Elite has always been elite, right? But this was one of the early super factions teams. But he brought on people like Tua Butters, like Rise, like Dunebug, like myself, just recruiting these high caliber players. And it's pretty tough because I think there's something to be said about how teams actually work together personality wise versus just assembling really, really talented people. There's a big difference, right? Like you see this in the NBA all the time. You can bring in a bunch of superstars who do really well individually, but then when you put them together, they don't exactly have the same kind of success. I never had any problems with any of my teammates. I'm still friends with all of them, regardless. But I will say that it's not as easy as just pulling a bunch of superstars together. There's a lot of management that you have to do. And my time on Mazer factions was really fun. This was kind of post World, so I guess I was on the downside a little bit, kind of on the verge of being washed. So I didn't scrim nearly as much as I should have. But it was great to have these incredible teammates. Like I really got to insight on how Doombug's brain works. He knows all the energy counts for the fast and charge attacks. So if you like made up a random combination, how many hexes to a thunderbolt, he could tell you. How many mud shots into a flash cannon, he could tell you. And Rise is also just situationally, I think Butter said this on the cast yesterday for Continentals. Rise is just one of the best people you can look for to be on a team call. He always says exactly the right thing, very succinctly, doesn't waste any time or space, keeps the energy counts in his mind. Very, very smart. Butters locks in way too fast. Butters, if you're listening, slow down. We're like, oh, let's talk about the team composition. And Butters like, no, I got an idea. Let's go. And he locks in his team. And we're like, we didn't even get to discuss it. So it was definitely entertaining. I don't know if this answers your question or not, Martine, but it was a fun experience for sure.
And I know that you've started to listen to the podcast as well, so you know that we're about controversial takes. Let's say that you are now a manager of a factions team, and maybe you're playing on it. You're like you're sort of like a panic. Who would you put together now for your like all-star factions team?
All-star? Is this region locked? Is this? What is this?
No, you can go global. I mean, you've casted a lot, but I mean, let's be fair. You probably have seen a lot more North American players, so we won't fault you if you choose to go mostly local for you.
Oh my gosh! I mean, how do you even? I don't know. I don't even know where you start. I mean, obviously you take the youngins, you take Wadaj and Hot Pocket, you take Martine, you take Panic in Ultra League, Master League. You probably take Jangles 21. Open Great League. You don't take Pranav. He's like the last on my list. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I agree. I hear no Caleb.
All love to Pranav, but you probably take DFH for Great League. It's so tough. There's so many trainers. I've gotten to know so many, not only through Play Pokemon, but also through GBLA and the leaderboards tracking. It's really insane the depth of talent that we have.
You just brought that up, so that we'll give you a freebie on that. We won't make you go through the whole roster of who you would pick, but tell us a little bit about GBLA for those who maybe aren't as familiar with this, because this is like a quote grassroots tournament format that maybe people who are into Play Pokemon don't understand that there's other formats that people are also playing within Pokemon Go.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like GBLA has been around for quite a while. We've done, I think, 7 seasons. We're coming up on the 8th season, which will probably launch in September, if I had to guess, maybe October, somewhere around there. But GBLA essentially takes the top 8 trainers from the Go Battle League leaderboards. We put them in a single elimination bracket. The meta reflects the meta that's currently available in Go Battle League. And the concept was originally created by Math Magic. He put out a tweet. I know we have some Math Magic tweet enjoyers probably listening right now. They've been some fantastic copy pastas over the years. I
love the quizzes.
The quizzes are so good. Nobody puts in the wrong answer on purpose, right?
No, never.
Never. But that being said, it was originally his idea. It was a great idea, right? A way to bring people together. And it was really tough in the early goings. Martine will remember this. So many hours of just like searching for people on Silph, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit. I've even found people on Instagram before to bring them into the tournament, just trying to find these trainers from around the world. But yeah, it's been really fun. We've given out over $7,000 in prize money over 7 seasons. PV Poke is our primary sponsor, but we also had Bad Hand, Jonathan Kelly, Panic is sponsor. We have a lot of friends that have joined in on it as well. And I still remember that season 1 grand finals. That was really impressive. Like 750 viewers, I think is what we maxed at, which is crazy for a grassroots stream. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I just think that there was a lot of hype around finally some more incentive for, top Go Battle League players, because currently it only rewards you with longer queue times. I can tell you, I'm dropping really fast when I'm waiting for my battles.
Of course. Yeah, the queue times are ridiculous. That's why you see a lot of younger trainers. I forget who said it. There's a trainer that said, "Yeah, I'm young, so I basically had no life. I can just sit at my house and just wait for queues. I
Was
don't
it
have to
with Dash?
work."
I think it
I
was
think
with
it was
Dash.
with us. Yeah.
Maybe it was him. Yeah,
He always has hot takes, or says it in that way, yeah.
Goodness. So kind of going off of grassroots tournaments, Silph just ended, right? I mean, and also like we talked about, you were the Silph World Champion. You said you just casted the finals for Silph as well. Do you have any hopes for grassroots tournaments for Pokemon Go in the future? I mean, are you connected with anything going forward, or what do you think that I know I'm asking a lot of questions within this like small concept here, but
No,
what
sure.
are some tips to get people more involved and keep people involved in Pokemon Go PvP?
So I feel like this is a make or break moment for Pokemon Go PvP in a lot of ways. I think the next season, starting in September, is going to tell us a lot about where we head as a community. Because, yeah, Silph Arena was our guiding light for so many years. It's what organized everything. My only battles before Silph Arena were basically I had a friend local in Tampa. We played one Great League match, one Ultra League match, and one Master League match, and that would be our battling for the day. We just get our interaction, whatever else. And that was, prior to Silph. And then Silph comes along, everything gets a lot more organized. Then we start to see Silph-esque cups in Go Battle League, right? We see theme cups. If you remember back to the early seasons, it was literally just open leagues all the time, just a rotation of open leagues. And then it, started to switch and evolve and become more specialized. So I think that there are some exciting projects coming out. I think Zygarden, I know that we've updated the name a few times, and Dracoviz, I think, are probably the 2 flag bearers right now. But I do have concerns. I'm concerned that Silph Arena was like this unifying flagship organization. And when you have a flagship grassroots meta, it's kind of like a signal where everyone needs to go to actually compete and join and meet. And then you have like spin-off organizations. Like I think that No Fun Pain Done does incredible work with the Unified group. I think that Martine's Open Great Leagues are incredibly valuable, and I wish those got even more exposure. I feel like there are these team formats. Draft League from Pogo Raiders is really huge as well. There's too many to mention, and there's all these spin-off leagues, but I think that having a unified grassroots is really critical. And I don't think you can just create a website and just say, okay, if you want to find a tournament, come here. For example, like when's the last time you went to Challenge and you just Googled, or not Google, but you search Pokemon Go tournament in Challenge? You never do that. Don't lie.
I
Don't
don't
lie.
think I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, I mean,
See, nobody's ever done that. So like there are some ideas to just build a flat platform and just let people host there. But I think you need that flagship. You need that leading format that everyone can gravitate towards. Otherwise, it just feels kind of directionless. So I think on the flip side of that, there are Play Pokemon locals, which I think are really going to ramp up over this next season. We've seen some trainers like JJan receive the NAIC travel reward in order to go attend in Columbus. I think that's big. I think that for Pokemon Go trainers in general, we're so used to getting very little from our developer, our leadership. In Niantic, we're so used to getting very little, like kind of like scraps or crumbs, that it feels like when Play Pokemon comes in and says, "Yeah, we're going to give you $750 just to go to Columbus, and if you win this tournament, you're going to get a paid trip to Japan, and you're going to get this and that," and it's mind blowing, right? It's crazy, and I think that TPCI is all full steam ahead. They are all in, all hands on deck. They see this game becoming part of the larger Pokemon ecosystem that could become huge in 3 to 5 years' time. This could become one of the biggest esport properties in the world in 3 to 5 years' time. So it's kind of like this rubber banding, this bipolar situation. We feel like sometimes our developer just kind of does the bare minimum, or maybe we feel like they should do more, and they have all these other projects they're working on, so their attention's so divided. But at the same time, TPCI is like, yeah, we're going all in. This is 100% what we want, and we're gonna invest money and time and effort and manpower and everything else. So yeah, this is a make or break moment for Pokemon Go PvP, and I hope this next season goes well.
That's a lot of things you're already covering before I even got to ask about it.
Amanda's asking me these onion questions with so many layers.
Well, I do feel the same way about that. Indeed, TPCI is investing a lot of this, right? I think that currently this is Play Pokemon is a big motivator for a lot of top PvP battles, right? Because before there was only really Silph, and I think Play Pokemon's really not really per se taking it over, but just coexisting to still make top competitive PvP possible. So now that we're already going towards this way, I want to start talking about your casting. I think it's no, I'm kidding. I want to talk about how did it start for you?
No, I watched back recently. I watched back the 2022 EUIC cast, and it's bad, Martine. It's real bad.
You checked how much you improved.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so tough. Like,
well,
if you
it was
listen
the first
to
time, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think you're being a little too hard on
Don't
it.
be hard on yourself there.
If you were watching it as a spectator, you were. I mean, I know I was blown away that there was commentating already for Pokemon Go. That I thought it was so great, and I was like, I know these people. I know how well they're already doing in the community. They're community leaders. This is so cool. Like I never once thought while I was watching it, eek, not doing so hot.
Yeah, I feel like we're all our own worst critics, right? Like Martine would probably think about a tournament that he didn't do as well as he could have, or a misplay, or Amanda, you'll probably think about a cast. You say, oh, I wish I would have done this or done that. I think we're all our own worst critics. So I do appreciate the kind words, but I feel like measuring ourselves and trying to improve is really important. The casting, I remember, and JR Honda, our mutual friend, will always tell this story. He actually came down to Orlando for our mega tournament back right before the pandemic kind of upended our world in 2020. And he came down to essentially run the stream, and Miss Mystic was there. We had, I think, Jay Farmakis and AJ Pilot were our casters. King was there as well. So many incredible trainers just all gathered there. And this was, Silph Arena was ramping up. This was the return, or this not the return, but essentially like the introduction of these mega tournaments. And we had, I think it was like 230 people come to this tournament, sign up, and I was part of finding the venue, working with Lyndon, Kachino Mum, Jangles, and other Florida locals to basically like facilitate this whole thing. And Jared Honda will always tell the story that he was walking around and he stumbled upon me, and I was standing there outside of the caster booth looking in the window, and I saw J Farm and AJ Pilot casting, and he said something innocuous to me like, hey, what do you think, or something like that. And I just said, Honda, if I could just do that one time, if I could just do one mega tournament, I'd be so happy. That would just make it for me for the whole year. I would never want anything else. Just cast one tournament. And he said, okay. And now, of course, the landscape has changed all the tournaments. Yeah. Well, not the big ones. Amanda, you keep taking on the big ones. You need to share a little bit here.
What can I say? When you got it, you got it.
But yeah, no, I've always enjoyed casting, and it's not something I thought I'd ever do. But now that I have it, there's actually a really pointed moment in London last year, because we were recording the end of Caleb's vlog for London, and Caleb said, "What do you want to tell yourself 5 years from now?" I was like, oh man, 5 years? It's such a loaded question. This is, one of those cliche things that you always hear about. And I thought about 5 years from now not casting. And that feeling that I got, it just broke my heart to think about not doing it anymore. Like having my last cast, it made me a little bit emotional. It's like, oh, I don't even want to imagine that. and how that goes. So I don't know. I think you can tell a lot about how important something is to you when you imagine your life without it. And yeah, it's really, really important to me right now. I don't know if you can tell or not.
I think honestly, I mean, all of us have had chances to cast things, and I would put you up. Um, I think you're like the benchmark that a lot of people go off of globally for what they think of when they think of Pokemon Go casting. So, I mean, whether you see it about yourself or not, maybe also you consider yourself middle of the pack in casting like you do PvPing. But yeah, I mean, I,
No, I think he's kind
I
of the face
yeah,
of
exactly. I
it, huh?
think that
The
that's
bearded face, yeah.
a lot
I'm
of
the
us
beard of it.
have a lot to we look up to you in a lot of ways when it comes to this. So it's able to benchmark and be. I know that I've learned a lot from you, and even working with you in an official capacity at EUIC was different because we've worked together in the past too. We've done like a lot of
Sure.
grassroots things together, but on the different stage, it was really like I was like, this is something special, and I was glad I got to share that moment.
Shoot. Why is this podcast is getting too emotional? We need to get more controversial in here.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
want to
yeah.
do that? You want to do that, Chief? All right, Amanda,
Sure, sure.
who's your
Well,
favorite? Who's your
you
favorite
asked
partner to
for it.
work with?
Oh
Oh,
no.
no.
Oh no. No, I remember Jim did an episode with, I think it was the first one you two hosted together
Mhm.
with Wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening back to the episodes and he mentioned me and I was like, "Oh, that's actually really, really
Well, we
sweet."
started with GBLA a full season, right? So it
Sure.
was a good experience, especially with Nightwing in the back, man. When we were
Oh
with
my
Nightwing in the back, oh, that man is just screaming the whole time.
Yes,
And you're just trying
baptism
to
by
look that
fire.
serious, dude. It's great practice.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. If chat could hear the profanities that were spoken, it's something else.
Well, but literally though, like one of the things I have during casting or even just talking, if someone like just mentions something briefly through the headset, right? Like from production, I just fall a little bit out of sync, you know. And I think
Mhm.
Nightwing just being so distracting, I think that really helped me at times for
We
the first
you and
couple
I
months.
you and I casted a GBLA tournament this past season, and I could see it, Martin.
Mhm.
I could see that you were just rolling with the punches. Nightwing was on his usual nonsense, and you were just rolling with them. I was like, man, this is a true sign of a professional. And then if you work with newer casters, I'm sure you both have experienced this, and production does talk to you, they stop talking or there's like
Mhm.
a gap or a hiccup or something goes wrong. I think that's an art to it as well because as a caster, as all three of us know, there's so many things going on in the background, right? There's maybe a dispute going on, or maybe you're waiting for results from one particular matchup, or maybe there are these topics you need to talk about, or the events in the game, and production's telling you, "Oh, sorry, but your cable's like over your shirt. You need to get that back there." And then you're dealing with like 12 different things at the same time. It can be pretty tough.
Martine and I have this horrible thing where it's like whenever we're casting together, something technology wise is going wrong, and then we're just like dancing for like 40 minutes. Or they're like, yeah, just
Yep.
spit it out. And then the last one in Turin was actually the worst when it's like the stream just
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah.
Happens. Yeah.
It's
Happened to Butters and Caleb at Worlds.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think our synergy was just too electrifying
yeah,
that
exactly,
all the power
exactly.
turned
Mm.
off. Yeah,
It's like too good, too good.
Mm. Yeah.
all right, I have two more topics that I have here, Chief. Another one
Sure.
is competing.
Mm.
I don't see a lot of casters of the main casters. I think Caleb and DeFi regularly, and
Yeah.
Alfeep also regularly competes, right? But I've not seen you, Butters, Wholesome, Gabby. Where are you guys?
So Phoebe has actually completed the trifecta. He's casted, he's judged, and competed, which is pretty impressive. I think Nexus Ilya has done the same thing. So a few people have been able to pull that off, but not very many. So yeah, I'd love to compete. I honestly feel like I've gotten to a point now. I actually had this realization yesterday, actually, that I'm going to try to relearn a lot of things about how to play, and I'm going to try to take more of a Doombug approach, where I study energy in terms of actual digits, not just counts. I actually am a bit more aware of certain things going on in the game. I'm really trying to remodel my knowledge, and hopefully next season can compete. This season we had 15, if I'm not mistaken, 15 North American regionals, and if my weekend isn't spent going to the regional, then maybe I go see Morita in Mexico City, or maybe I'm working on things around the house, or maybe I'm doing other things. So it's tough to attend every single regional because you're basically eating up every single weekend, and you've got the regular work week as well. So it's definitely challenging. But I think personally, I think Wholesome would probably do the best out of the three of us. I don't know if that's controversial. I think Wholesome would absolutely crush it if he actually competed.
I think that's true as well. He's a very, very good. Not that you're not, but if you, this is another
Wholesome's
fun,
cracked.
controversial take. Speedy, this is another good content that we can put just on this podcast. Rank the North America casters in PvP skill.
I have to say Caleb at the top. I have to put Jim right behind him. Now this is so tough because I feel like I'm going to leave someone out. I have to put North American casters. So that includes Phoebe, DeFi,
Mark's son.
Mark's son as well. Mark's son's a character. I've got stories about Mark.
Yeah, I've heard them too. That he can be very energetic.
Dude, when Mark plays his own Go Battle League matches, he's like the most invested and just so excited and so hyped. And I hope he's able to bring more of that into the cast because he's a really fun guy to be around, especially when he plays his own games. Caleb, Jim, I probably put Butters, and then honestly, probably Butters, then Phoebe, then myself. And then yeah, this is really tough because I feel like now I'm picking favorites. I put Mark at the bottom because he never plays his games. Mark's at the bottom. I'll say that.
That's fair. That's fair. Martijn, you want to do it for the EU?
Yeah,
Ooh.
let's hear it.
European casters. Who do we have right now?
You at the top for sure.
I guess I did pretty well. Based on this season, yeah. Based on last season, I'm at the bottom.
I would say it would go you and then Count Xavius probably. Maybe
Yeah, well,
next, maybe Ilya, but
Wow.
Ilya doesn't also play very much anymore. He's
Yeah.
more into the
you know who I
judging.
think improved a lot?
Leo.
Leo, a lot. He's
Leo
been
improved a lot.
every time there's a top competitor around him, he's like, "Yo, you want to practice? You want to scrim?" Like, he just wants to get a
Nice.
taste of how good ballers play. Like, and
He's
wants
3-0ing Lurgan Rocket at the bar, but let's be fair, Lurgan.
Lurgan.
There was a bit of a handicap there as well, I think.
Oh, what about Nighttime Clasher? He actually made top cut in the US.
Dang, like yeah, he's pretty decent. That was kind of fun that he came over. I don't know if he will come over for Europe anymore again. I don't know if I don't actually know what qualifies, right? Because
maybe for NA.
This last season we was more like a grassroots almost for play Pokemon in Europe. But hopefully next season we can become a little more like polished as well when it comes to casting, and then we can do a whole who's the best PvPers out of all of the casters globally.
I was talking with Nighttime Clasher at Fresno, and he said he's basically casting mobile games like Thanos collects Infinity Stones. He's like, yeah, I did Brawl Stars, and I did this, and I did that, and I'm trying to like get Pokemon Go as well. And he's like collecting all of them, all the mobile games. It's pretty fun.
Do you know what's so funny about that dude is like, so we met him and he's so quiet, he's so shy, like a really, really nice, studious kid. And then the camera was on him because he was filming this small like tips segment, and he just turned it on, and like the whole room just stopped and looked at him because we're like, that's coming out of that guy, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's definitely a very nice guy.
All right. Into the next topic that I have for you, Chief. What are your expectations for the next season? The next Play Pokemon season.
Any spoilers?
Expectations? Sorry, this is a broad question. What are you thinking of?
I want to know everything.
Expectations.
Yeah.
Everything. Okay.
So I think championship points are going to be introduced more. I think some of it is already on the website, right? Perhaps something with that. Do we expect like Swiss format for next season? Like we've ran that. Apparently that was run in the Japanese qualifier as well, right? Like what kind of adaptations, and also like keep in mind that TCG and VGC could be used as comparison as well, because they've been running longer and maybe their system is a little bit more ideal.
Yeah, so obviously without revealing any private conversations that I've had, I think that Swiss is on the radar. I think that's definitely something that they'd like to move towards soon. I don't know if it'll happen next season, but hopefully soon. I think one thing you didn't mention that I think has a very good chance of happening is probably open team sheets. I think that
I
could
like that.
be, yeah, that could be something that comes into play, especially because you think about all the players on stream that are really disadvantaged by having everyone watch them and then not knowing their opponent's movesets when they come off stream. It can be very tough. But then at the same time, you won't have the Michael Staranka moment at PJCS where he grassed on at a Swampert and rock sided a Pelipper or Charizard or whatever. You won't have that with Mew because people will know your moveset. So it's going to be very tough to surprise people. I think that in terms of other expectations, I'm really hopeful to see what locals do. I think that Niantic has expressed that they want to get invested in locals. They feel like the local activation is what Niantic is all about, and I agree. And I would love to see them invest because that's what their whole mantra is, getting people out, especially the local communities. I think that's going to be really critical to see how that takes off. I would love to see content creators. I actually haven't told anybody about this. I would love to see content creators do what King did back in 2018, 2019, where he went out to different tournaments. Like, oh my God, King is going to be in Philly. And that's where he discovered House Stark, right? Or King is going to go to Texas, and that's where Valor Ash was playing. And actually, creators going and spotlighting these local tournaments and reviving the communities locally. I think that's going to be really important that people do that. I would encourage people like Rise, like Home Size Henry, like Inadequance, like even Pokedaxi to go to these local tournaments and make content out of it. I think that would be really important. I think we're going to have another trainer that wins 2 regionals. I think that'll happen. I think Wadaj won 1 regional and an IC, right? He's the only one to do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's correct.
I think this is tough. It's such a broad question. I think Carbink will be hot for a little while, and then hopefully other things are introduced that kind of smolder that.
What's gonna happen to Charizard when Carbink is gonna be allowed?
Charizard's gonna have a really tough time. I think if there's gonna be a Shadow Charizard World Champion, it's got to be in Yokohama, because Carbink means not only less Charizard, it means more Mud Boys, more Quagsire, more Whiscash, more Swampert, and it means more ground pressure as well. It's going to be more water too, just in general, right? Carbink still takes super effective from water, so there's that. Yeah, if there's going to be a Shadow Charizard World Champion, they have to be in Yokohama.
I do like that you're saying that.
Yeah. So I'm curious, actually. Actually, I want to turn this around on both of you. So we noticed a lot this season that there were these carryovers from EU over to NA, right? I'll admit, North Americans, we don't have a whole lot of spices in our cabinet sometimes. It really feels like we are lacking in that regard. Dunsparce coming over from EU, that was, moderately successful. Shadow Sableye never made it across the Atlantic. We never had any Shadow Sableye success, but we did have a lot of Shadow Charizard success. Took us a few months to learn how to play it, but then we actually got pretty good with it. So I'm curious if you think any other EU picks are going to float across the ocean there.
Well, it's probably gonna depend on if we get updates for next season, right? The way I saw it, and I also mentioned that in my interview on day 2 on Hartford, right? Is that Americans seem to approach the meta a little bit safer, right? And the Europeans tend to try to bring 1 or 2 core based on some more flex picks. And I think at some point the Americans were like in Hartford. Unfortunately, I faced 5 Bastiodons there. But they were like, you know what, we're just gonna do it better than them. And they brought all the things, right? So I'm not sure if that's honestly location based as well. But definitely when a Pokemon like Shadow Charizard is being so dominant in multiple regionals, that's gonna carry over to other players as well, right? When you see that a Charizard lead is incredible against a Shadow Swampert and then just burns whatever is behind it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just gonna make you want to use it too, right? And for that reason, I think a lot of people are going to adapt that. I'm also curious if the APAC community is also watching that kind of stuff, right? Because lately in my Open Great League practice tournament, I have a couple Japanese actually. I think I had 10 Japanese in there at one point,
Wow.
and they do have a little bit of a different approach. They use more Dragonite. They use very little Charizard actually. More Dragonite, Altaria, Sand/Venusaur, that kind of stuff that we don't see a lot of in Europe. Yeah, I'm just wondering if they also observe those things that are used in our regionals, and that might just clash a little bit in Yokohama. I think we're gonna have like on one side a lot of Charizard as the flyer from Europe, and then we have the Japanese. They bust out all the Dragonites.
Ooh,
That's what
gonna
I'm
be a lot
kind
of
of
fun.
expecting. Yeah.
I remember last year at Worlds when it was like, no one had the opportunity really to see any of the Asian players play before. And then they just like went to town on Europe and NA. It's like Rise getting like knocked down to losers bracket round 1. And everyone's like, I don't know any of these names, but they were just like crushing the whole bracket. Another Pokemon that I think that we use more in Europe, but I mean, I see it sometimes as well, is Registeel. Registeel is like always
Yeah.
seems to be picked in Europe over Galarian Stunfisk, which seems to be more popular in North America. But it's like again, like it's sort of like it's like a pendulum swing where we start to see something somewhere and then they kind of shift back and forth as well.
I think that was before the recent updates of Alolan Sensors. Then there was like way more Registeel in Europe and way more G-Fisk in NA. And then with the update, it shifted again. I don't remember exactly what the reason was for more Registeel. I think I can't remember real quick. Probably because of ice types, right? Because of ice types, Registeel just does better against that. And
It was,
yeah.
Go ahead.
And now with Charizard being so dominant, we might see more Galarian Stunfisk again.
Back again, yeah.
So
Yeah.
interesting shift. Interesting. I can go on for hours for this, but
I think no, I think you're spot on. I think it was the rise in ice, and I think it was also the rise in Water Gun Lantern, making Galarian Stunfisk less safe. And I guess third is the prominence of Swampert, especially Shadow Swampert, because Galarian Stunfisk really struggles there. Sure, an Earthquake can get a knockout there, but Registeel with a little energy lead can potentially double Focus Blast if you don't land your Earthquake right away. So yeah, definitely a lot more flexibility there, and the knockdowns as well. It's just so much easier to beat knocked out with
and the
Registeel.
zeros against Medicham, right? Also pretty huge.
Yeah, exactly.
So while we're talking about Worlds, and I mean,
Sure.
seriously, we can talk to you for hours, but we'll keep it to only 7 hours, like we discussed earlier.
Yeah, only 7. Okay, so we're 1/7 of the way there.
Yeah, but we have kind of a typical question that we ask on the podcast, and while we're already discussing Worlds, I feel like it's kind of led up to this point. So, who in the community of PvPers would you consider a Crabrawler? And this is someone who is maybe not super well known in the PvP community, but you see them as like a good player, maybe a scrappy player, a potential up and comer. And then who do you see as a Machampion, someone that you think that could potentially win in Yokohama? And you can say Martine, but I'm going to go ahead and spoil it that no one ever does. So don't feel bad.
Not true. She's already said positive things about me.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. That's a really good question. And you know what? It's funny because I've listened to the past episodes, but I did not prepare an answer for this. So I need to think about it for just a second.
It's the staple
champion?
question.
I know, but I wanted it to be organic. I didn't just want to
That's fair.
spit out an answer, Oh yeah, I did my homework. In terms of a Machampion, I'm gonna go ahead and choose Rise. I think I know, I'm sorry, Martine. I think Rise is just so incredibly consistent, so talented, and even at NAIC, forcing the 3-0 bracket reset against Wadaj, and then coming within one lick of actually winning it all in Game 5. It's really tough as a competitor to be so close so many times, and Rise has done that. He's even said this himself. He feels like he's always in second place, and he's just like a couple of plays short of being a champion. And I really feel like if he has the right mindset, if he's confident and plays his best, he has a really, really good chance to win Worlds. I don't know if there's anyone more prepared than Rise. Who do I think is an up-and-comer that people should watch out for? That is a tough question. Actually,
Inadequance.
scrolling. I'm scrolling. You're not an up-and-comer.
Yeah, I'm new.
You're a veteran. You're in the top. I'd say you're easily top.
My elo says I'm an expert, actually.
you'd be top 15 to top 20% of the world's players, in my opinion. Who is an up and comer though? Has anyone heard of Crimson K19? I'm just kidding. Crimson's lovely.
He's great.
Crimson's
I gave
lovely.
him a lot of teams for the tournaments, and he did pretty well with most of them.
Yeah, no, he absolutely did. All right. I feel like I'm just stalling at this point. I'm just feeling I'm saying words to fill time while I scroll through this list.
Well, that's your profession at this point, right?
You're vamping.
That's true.
We're getting in the background. Can you stall? Can you give us we need 5 minutes, Will.
Absolutely true. Yeah, absolutely true. Definitely stalling. It's just tough because a lot of these trainers have succeeded. Okay, so I'm gonna pick one from APAC actually. I remember he made some incredible plays at OCIC. I'm gonna choose Sniped Bra as a player that I feel like has the finesse, has the skill expression to do really well at Worlds, but I don't know if he can put all the pieces together in terms of consistency, team reading, resilience, all the components that make a world champ. I don't know if he's got all those, but he's got a few really enticing components.
Yeah, I think I like that pick. I think there's like a small portion of like Australian ballers that are really freaking good. Like
Valiant Vish.
Jakobovic, Valiant Vish, indeed. Rick Flarian, right? And there's more, but and some of them are going to be at Worlds too. They're really something to look out for. Sniper is definitely one of them as well. More of the solid plays at OCIC, as I remember.
I just wanted to say that I saw a comment about NAIC, and this individual said, I watched NAIC Grand Finals with Wadaj and Rise, and I basically decided to put down PvP after that because there's no way I could ever come close to how good those trainers are. So do you think there's like this intimidation factor when these really talented battlers are top 8 every time, they're making finals or runner up every time? Do you think that limits people from feeling they should be involved, or do you think that just is par for the course with any competitive endeavor?
Personally, I think there's a world championships for every game, and not everyone can. As harsh as that sounds, yeah, the people who make it there are top tier. I'm pretty good at FIFA myself.
FIFA, okay.
Yeah, I used to be pretty good. It's been a few years now. I used to be really good at it, but a world championship, no, I don't think I should even get started to it. But I think that the skill level or the skill ceiling in Pokemon Go is pretty manageable if obviously it's not easy at times because like there's a lot to memorize, right? But there's also a lot to practice. There's a lot of matchups to learn. And I think that already can, like, even you, SpeediestChief, could win the Silph World Championships, right?
Even me. Even me. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Seriously.
No, but it's just a perfect showcase of what you say. Like, with a lot of practice, with a lot of scrimming, with a lot of knowledge, right? I think you can get far. Even if you're like just new or you don't have all the Pokemon just yet, because obviously a lot of time and resources. But that's with every game, I think.
I would say that that's my big point, that there's an inaccessibility factor, right, to Pokemon Go, that I think that even if someone's watching it and they're like, this is really cool, I want to start playing tomorrow, well, you can't. Like, like Leo, like he doesn't, we were talking about how good he's getting, he still doesn't have a Medicham, which is, he's casted over basically every single tournament, but he's not at the level yet where he can build an XL level 50 Medicham. So, I mean, he's kind of, that puts him in a harder spot. And if you want to start out like in TCG, you can buy like the world champion deck, right? You're not allowed to actually play with it in an actual tournament, but you can play with it and you can like learn different skills and you can learn different styles. There's no like play the world champions team against someone in Pokemon Go, right? If you want to build that team, you have to invest resources. Then you have to find one with the PvP IV spread that maybe you want to use. Not that always matters, but I mean, it starts to. And when you get at the higher caliber, like these things can end up also being things that flip a matchup as well. So I get that point. I think we all are at a level where we're like, yeah, we're going to play it no matter what because we like the game. But I do think that there's an inaccessibility and skill level thing that could discourage people from playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not wrong. I actually had this conversation with one of our TCG colleagues as well. They said the same thing. You could go into a store, you could buy the deck, and you could go to a regional the next weekend if you wanted to. And maybe you need a few more cards, but you can pick those up as well from a card shop or online for a few dollars here or there, and just get the pieces that you need, and you can compete. Whereas for making a metacham, you'd have to do 100 mega metacham raids, or you'd have to wait for an event for half the year. I remember at GoFest Seattle, there was a young kid who wanted to compete at the battle arena there in the stadium, and he said, "Okay, I really want to play Umbreon," and he showed me his Eevee. He said, "I want to make this into an Umbreon," and he had like 40 candies, and I was like, "All right,
Ouch.
first you need to catch like 200 more EVs." Right. Then you need to find the best IV spread. Then you need to walk your
Walk
EV
it.
as your buddy for kilometers. Right. And then even if you did all that, you still have to wait until nighttime after this battle event is over to evolve it into Umbreon. And then you can go back tomorrow when GoFest is already over. It's just like this such a tough barrier to even getting started, right? And this young kid was really fun to talk to. He had so many questions. It was an entertaining kid in general. But after his 20th or 50th question, I lost count. I essentially just took out my phone from my pocket. I said, "Take this, go to the battle tower, play whatever Pokemon you want to. Just don't transfer anything,
Yeah.
and see how you do." And he ended up taking my account and winning in
Oh,
in the battle tower,
that's really
which is
awesome
it was really
and
cool, right? And
and
it just
very
shows that
trusting of you.
it just shows if you give people the tools, then they can succeed, and it needs to feel accessible. So will we get to a point, to your question earlier, Martine, will we get to a point where if you are walking by the convention center in whatever city and you see a tournament in there, will we get to the point where you can walk up to the door, buy a ticket to enter, walk over to the Pokemon Go booth, pick up a phone with preloaded Pokemon, and enter a team and register that way and compete? Will we get to that point? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, maybe in some capacity. But would it be helpful? Yes, I think it would.
Yeah, thank you for your answer there, Chief, and thank you for your time. For your time. Damn, I'm really getting that English.
Thank you for Martine.
Thank you.
This guy.
This guy.
Yes. Thank you for coming on, SpeediestChief. Again, we have another person who doesn't think I win worlds. That's very unfortunate.
Oh, Martine, we can't end the podcast yet. We have to once again talk about you beating Emmy Weedle.
Oh. Yeah. Remember when the EUIC casters they said that they expected me Weedle to win the EUIC, SpeediestChief?
I do remember that being thrown around. Yes.
Yeah. Was it you? I think it was you. No. Yeah.
It was Caleb.
Do you know who knocked him out? It was I. Yeah.
Oh, it was I.
You're truly.
Oh my god, Weedle is really, really talented. He's a good example of a trainer that just started in the game recently and then came out and performed really well, obviously at Worlds last year, and then won a regional this year as well. But
yeah,
no, Martine, we might have to. You and Magic Mason might share the same nickname. You might both be Dream Eaters if you keep on knocking out these competitors, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's just our age catching up. That all these younger people are being so good currently, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, how about we wrap it up here? Again, thank you for your time, SpeediestChief. Anything else you want to say or give a shout out to?
No, I just think it's really important that people, if they enjoy this podcast, if they enjoy StadiumCast, they should follow, sub, download, go to the YouTube, like that video, leave a comment, everything else that you need to do in order to support it, because I think that's really, really critical. You can say that you want PvP to grow. You can say you're invested in Grassroots, but you got to actually do something too. So definitely show your support to Martine and Amanda. They put on a great show. I binged all the previous episodes before coming on here. Still didn't have my Brawler in mind, but I enjoyed the episodes that much. But no, thank you both for your time. I know that there's a huge time gap, and I appreciate you. Your time, your energy, and your effort. And yeah, let's see what Worlds holds, and let's see what next season has in store.
All right. We appreciate you, Will. And stay tuned, everyone, for the next episode as well, released on Fridays. Bye.
Bye.